Hello and welcome back to the EDC Squirrel. I've got something new for you guys today, and this is one that I actually unboxed earlier during one of my previous live unboxing streams. This one is from Trivisa. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, as this is one of my first knives from this company. I'm not very familiar with them at all, and I got this after seeing this on auction on Whatnot. And it was going for a veritable steal. Let's take a look at the box real quick and see the details first. First, you get what looks to be a product certificate with a quality control pass stamp. You get some stickers, pretty neat. And you get a little pamphlet. This one appears to be, first of all, thank you for choosing Trivisa knife. And you get care instructions, as well as even sharpening instructions, how to sharpen via whetstone. This is interesting because I've never seen a knife yet that has actually come with sharpening instructions. And they even go over how to sharpen via whetstone as well as sharpen a rod. So that's actually pretty cool. But you get that. You get a microfiber cleaning cloth. And now, like I said, I did open this before. The knife itself comes in a little plastic bag, but you do get a cloth bag in which to place it in. I've already tossed the plastic one and just put it in the cloth bag. Now, this is Trivisa Dolphin FO. It is a reverse tanto blade made of 14C 28N steel, satin finish. The handle material is olive wood, and it is a liner lock blade or liner lock knife. Overall length on this one, when open, is 7.61 inches. Blade length is going to be 3.37 inches. Closed length is 4.24 inches. And weight is going to be about 3.66 ounces. Now, the reason why this one caught my interest is because it resembles another knife that I have in my collection, and it's called a Higanakami. Now, the Higanakami is like an traditional and older Japanese knife, and it's a very simplistic one. I kind of equate them to like the Japanese Opinel. And let me grab it real quick, and I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. The Higanakami looks like this. And I've done a video on this before. It's a very simple knife, something that I really, really liked about it. It's a friction folder, meaning there's no lock, there's not even a slip joint. It's literally the friction of the pivot that kind of holds the blade in place or gives it some resistance. And you just pull on that lever to open the blade. And as you're using it, you would place your thumb on that little lever, and that helps keep the blade open as you're working with it. And then when you're done, you simply fold the blade closed like so. Now, when I saw this on auction, it had a very similar shape, as you can see here. It has that similar similar lever, and very similar shape to the handle, although it is much beefier because it is a wooden handle, and you even have a liner lock and a pocket clip. So it's like they modernized the Higanakami. Now, like I said, it is a liner lock, and the blade opens up just like the Higanakami would with this lever atop here. Now, because the length of that lever, it's not one that you can really, or at least I'm unable to really just flip open. You can open it with one hand, that's not a problem, but because of the length of that lever, as you can see here, when I try to open it, my finger kind of gets in the way. But that still doesn't prevent me from opening the knife with one hand. And like I said, there's the liner lock. It's a very positive lockup. As you can see, I get no movement up or down on that blade, nor do I get any movement side to side. And because of this pretty generous cutout on the scales, I can easily access that liner lock to close it one-handedly. Or close it one-handed. One-handedly? Close enough. You do have a relatively deep carry pocket clip. Unfortunately, it is not reversible. You have steel bolsters, and you got bushings or washers in the pivot as opposed to ball bearings. And what that does is it gives it a little friction, kind of similar to the original Higanakami. However, it's not nearly as strong, but it allows you to it actually helps to allow you to open this with one hand. The blade itself is not falling one way or another. Because like I said, that lever, your fingers are going to get, it's long enough where your fingers are going to get in the way of just flicking it open. Although, I guess you can just open it part way and then flick it the rest of the way once your fingers are out of the way. But I feel like that added resistance helps you open it one-handed rather safely, actually. Now, again, it is a 14C 28N steel, probably one of my favorite steels, or like I said, it's, yeah, one of my favorite steels for blades under $100. Well, 14C 28N, Nitro V, 154 CM. I like all those steels. But the surprising thing about this was not only the steel, but the fact that this knife, when I look online, runs about $26.52. And that's looking at Trivisa's website. $26.52, and you have a 14C 28N steel blade. And as I said before, it's a 3.37-inch long blade, a reverse Tonto style. And when we have it closed, you can see pretty well centered, maybe just a hair off. Maybe just a hair off center, but not very much at all. It's kind of really hard to tell. It looks pretty well centered, though. And I like the feel of the scales. The wood scales are smooth, but not overly slick. And because of the size of these scales, it actually gives it a lot more comfortable grip than the original or the classic Higanakami, which is basically a bent steel or brass, as you can see there, and it is pretty thin. That extra width in the wooden scales makes this much more comfortable. The pocket clip has a little forward or flattened bend at the very tip, which is really nice. I like to see pocket clips that don't just jut upward and abruptly stop. Hopefully that won't snag so badly when you have it on your pocket if you bump into anything. And it's a pretty positive clip. Like I said, I'm kind of surprised at how deep carry this clip is. It's not totally deep carry, but pretty darn close. Now, another thing with this knife is you'll notice the jimping on the back is pretty aggressive, but not uncomfortable. You get a pretty positive grip on the jimping. And also, that lever is sloped. And I like that because when you put your thumb there, it kind of acts like a little stop, preventing your thumb from sliding too far forward onto the blade. Now, there's no real finger choil, just a little sharpening choil there. And having that jimping and that little ramp up makes this much more easy to control for more precise cuts and detailed decutting. You get a decent amount of control there. And also, aside from just the liner lock alone, just having your thumb on that lever is just another added bit of security, just like on the original Higanakami, preventing that blade from closing. Although, again, that liner lock is pretty solid. Now, I know I tested it on my live earlier. Whoops, shook my table. But we're going to test it again. And this blade out of the box, the only thing I've done to this right now since I've opened it on the live was add some pivot lube as well as some wax to the blade. So I haven't done anything like stropping or sharpening or anything like that. This is literally out of the box sharpness. And it is razor sharp. It moves through the paper so smoothly. And that is from belly to tip, all along that blade. Immediate bite. It feels so smooth going through that paper. Okay, right there. I don't normally get this far before it starts to tear. This is farther than I usually get. There we go. There we go. And it even redeems itself there. It's very, very smooth. And normally when I'm cutting through magazine paper like this, I'm really paying attention to how it feels when that knife goes through and how it sounds. And it's a very clean sound and feel going through that paper. I know you've seen me tear a little bit into it. That's probably more me than the knife, because normally I don't get to cut the magazine paper this much before it's already starting to tear. It tore a little bit, but I'm able to keep going. That is an amazingly sharp blade right out of the box. And the greatest thing is I didn't have to do anything to it at all. It was very smooth feeling, very quiet. Normally, you could even hear the tearing if a blade is dull or has some dull points in it. You can feel the blade catch on the paper, and it was just so smooth that I'm actually a little leery of getting my fingers too close to that edge. And I really like this reverse tanto profile for everyday cutting tasks. You get a really nice low point for draw cuts, a decent belly. You got a little bit of a curve there for cutting and slicing. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the reverse tanto on the Bel Airs, except this is a much longer blade. And I do feel really secure with not only that liner lock, but having my thumb on that lever. Now, all this, again, the most amazing part is that steel, this quality, I don't normally see in too many knives this low. The closest knife I can think quality-wise that I've seen in something like this that I can think of would be like the Civivi Mini Praxis, which was like $29, so even more than that. And that comes with D2 steel and is even much smaller in comparison. So I'm quite surprised with everything you get for such a low price. And because I got this on a Whatnot auction, I paid even less. I believe I paid maybe $20 for this knife. And again, retail is $26.52 everywhere that I saw, including on Amazon. Now, they do have different woods available for this knife. This one, again, is an olive wood, or olive handle. They do have, or they didn't have this one. They didn't have the olive handle on Amazon, but they do have a rosewood handle that I actually ordered and should be coming soon. I'm curious to see if the quality control holds up, but I really like the darker look of the rosewood. I've always been a fan of rosewood, so seeing it for the same price, $26.52 on Amazon, I couldn't help but order another one. That's how impressed I am with this knife. The cost, the steel, materials, and the functionality and quality on something so inexpensive is absolutely fantastic. But let me know what you guys think. If you have any Trivisa knives. If you have this knife, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it as well. I am really, really impressed. I don't really have too much to say that would be considered like a negative on this one, aside from maybe the fact that I can't just flick it open. But I'm actually fine with that. This is not exactly a speedy knife, but just it's a modern take on a workhorse of a Japanese pocket knife. And I like how they did it. They did an amazing job. How they kept it this low, I have no idea, but they managed to do it, and I love it. That's I can't say enough good things about it. It's a great first impression from Trivisa. I did see a lot more and a lot more expensive knives in Trivisa's roster, and now I'm kind of curious to see next time when I get a chance to see what kind or how those stack up. I think the other knives that I was seeing, they had some beautiful wood knives, some with Damascus steel, wood handled knives. I mean, with Damascus steel, and those are ranging from what I saw around $70-$80. So I'm really curious if they could put a good quality on something sub 30. What can they do for 80? I know in the pictures those were looking absolutely beautiful, and this looks even more striking in hand than it did in the photos I saw or the video I saw at the auction. So I'm really excited to possibly try and check more of these knives out from Trivisa. Excuse me. And again, let me know what you think if you have any of those other knives or if you own this knife. I'd love to hear about it and get your opinions in the comments below. If you liked what you saw, please drop a like down below. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and then you'll be notified of any future videos that I drop as soon as they hit. But thanks again for all your support. You guys have been great supporters of this channel, and I appreciate each and every one of you and hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.